Okay, so Boa's been a bit removed from the spotlight ever since the intermediate chapters between Wano and Egghead, where she was snuck by Blackbeard and Co. a couple of months ago. And it got me thinking, how the hell is Oda gonna put Boa back into the story? Okay, I wasn't thinking about that, I just wanted to make a video glazing Boa, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. I really should have called this video like, how strong is Boa Hancock? Because I'm just gonna be scaling her in this one. But why Boa Hancock is up next just sounds better, couldn't tell you why. I'll probably just end up combining both titles. So we will talk about how she gets reintegrated into the story later on, but for now we're just gonna be talking about how she scales to the rest of the cast. And she might even scale a bit higher than where you had her originally. So without further ado, let's get into how strong Boa Hancock really is and why she's up next in the One Piece story. We kind of get a sense of scale on where Boa's abilities might lie in terms of Haki when in chapter 519 we are introduced to Marigold, one of the few characters who is able to actually use Haki at that point in the story. She deflects Luffy's attack with Haki just like Sentomaru did in Sabaody, which seems to be some sort of application of Ryo, which is only learned way later by Luffy in the land of Wano. We also see Sonia using observation Haki against Luffy as well, although it's a bit unclear whether it's future sight or just normal observation. I mean, personally, I don't think it's future sight, but I guess it could be. Nah, it's not fucking future sight, bro. It's not fucking future sight. Okay, look. So she fights a Gear 2 Luffy. She can read all of his movements, but her just body speed is just so dead. It can't keep up. So it's like she could have future sight, right? But she can't speed up to that level. But she can see it, but she just can't do anything about it, right? So it's like she could technically have it, but for the sake of this video, I'm gonna say she fucking has it because it's more fun that way. Meaning both Boa sisters have advanced Hakis in both armament and in both observation. So it kind of begs the question, you know, could Boa Hancock have advanced conquerors? You know, I think it's up there. I think it's in the discussions. You know, I think it's a valid statement. Since Marigold has Ryo, right? She has the ability to flow her Haki through way better than most people, right? Boa probably has that. Boa Hancock probably has this too, right? So like, you know, I wouldn't say it's impossible that Ryo eases the flow of Conqueror's Haki when you infuse it with yourself. I think that's a valid statement to make. And therefore, there's a possibility that Boa Hancock has advanced Conqueror's Haki. And let me add, all of the opponents she's fought, really, that she struggled against, you know, have been sneaks, like with Blackbeard. That's really it. Like, even Blackbeard had to take precautions with her, because, you know, she could one-tap him. I don't know if she could. Maybe Blackbeard's being too careful, because he does have that kind of mentality, but because the only real opponent that she would ever need to use advanced Conqueror's Haki against is Blackbeard, right? We don't actually know if she can use it or not. Because everyone else, they're just bums like Smoker, Kobe. They don't need ACOC to be used against them. Only character that she's fought that would possibly need ACOC is Blackbeard. And he snuck her, so you know, I'm just saying the possibility is there, bro. I'm telling you, bro. She's got it. She fucking got it. I mean, if you want to go deeper, let's look at Stampede. She used that feminine against fucking, what's his name? Bullet, bro. Broke into pieces. Like, yo, this I don't know about this. That feels like some internal destruction to me personally. The robot that Bullet is in is literally solidified with Haki. With like Bullet's Haki. This guy could match Goldie Roger. Well, he couldn't. He could not match Goldie Roger, but he was cooking with a supernova. And Boa literally broke through that with her kick. Look, I don't know. Oda has, you know, you can say that's a movie feat. That's not real, bro. But I don't know. You know, Oda does, I don't know how much Oda's involved in these, and you would think that he is to some extent, right? So if he just puts in that internal destruction there in like with Boa, you know, I won't be surprised. But that's just speculation. As for how she gets reintegrated back into the story, well, the reason why Marines keep coming to Amazon Lily is because of Boa, right? And the Warlord system being absolved. So obviously, and even Boa says it herself, she's like, where the hell should I go? So I think Oda's trying to tell us something there. I think that's her next destination. She'll have to go into the new world. And she'll probably end up with Luffy through a cover story or wherever else. I'll leave it to Oda to surprise us on that one. Now, as to actually answer the question of where she stands along the rest of the cast, I have at the Admiral tier. Yep. Among characters like Greenbow, Fujitora, Zoro, and Yamato. And throw in Law and Kid as well, although I do have them below Zoro and Yamato, for reasons which I will explain in the next video, so subscribe to stay tuned in for that one. Now, a little disclaimer before I continue, but this all hinges on the theory that Boa Hancock has ACOC, okay? Which in itself is already quite iffy, but just trust me, trust the process, okay? Firstly, her hacks should work on characters on the tier of Yamato, Zoro, Law, Kid, Fujitora, Greenbow, etc. And that's because as an ACOC user, there shouldn't be such a large disparity in Hakis between her and characters of those tiers. It's not like the disparity between Law and Kaido, or an Amtop Law against Doc Q. So although her fruit would have reduced effectiveness against characters on the tier that I described earlier, they would still work over the long run. Meaning it now becomes a question if Zoro and Yamato have the speed to dodge and counter Boa and her moves like Slave Arrow or Pistol Kiss, which they very much do. Zoro hasn't been able to dodge it per se, but he has blocked and countered a King with his Flame Off, as well as a Shigan Madara from an Awakened Lucci, the latter which he dodged, of course. Yamato has clashed with a hybrid Kaido and achieves the same result as base Luffy using Future Sight against a Thunder Bagua. Although Yamato's feat is obviously way more impressive because she goes up against a hybrid Kaido and isn't trying to fully dodge the attack and instead tries to match it. Meaning Boa basically has to surpass base Luffy's speed with Future Sight as well. So the burden of proof kind of falls on Boa to show speed feats on that level, but we don't have much outside, of course, movies. And even in the canon material, she doesn't fight the most impressive of characters head to head, as I said before. So why put her up on a tier above them? Don't ask too many questions, but I will give you an answer. Now, I projected Boa having internal destruction through a movie feat, and I realized that may cause some skepticism to say the least, but I'll give you something to make that plausible, as well as her having Future Sight, which would give her the speed of attack necessary to beat Zoro and Yamato, and it's very simple. First off, I cannot continue this video with a straight face telling you that Sonya has Future Sight, bro. I just can't, okay? That's just outrageous. So, an ability that's harder to come by than internal destruction, yeah, nah. But with that knowledge, I'll amend my theory on Boa's Haki proficiency. If Mari has Emission, a stage below internal destruction, right? And Sonya has Observation Haki, a stage below Future Sight, I will bet on Boa Hancock having the advanced versions of both Haki as well as Infusion. Confirmed 100% or 1000%, trust me. And with that, it will give her the attack potency and speed to match and surpass Zoro and Yamato. Since I personally have these two on Fujitora and Greenbow's tier as well, it would also make her at the Admiral tier, but below Kizaru and Aokiji and Akainu, because I feel like admirals that have gone through the Navy system and have been trained are obviously going to be stronger admirals than civilians that just happen to be strong. That's more headcanon, but that's just where I lie. This whole video is okay headcanon, but I didn't say that. I didn't say that. One might argue her being snuck by Blackbeard is an anti-feat for Boa's observation, but being locked in on one opponent does generally leave a character up for sneak attacks. We've seen that multiple times. So I wouldn't necessarily call it a negative on Boa's observation or the fact that she can use Future Sight. And just to give a bit more credence to my claim of Boa being on the Admiral tier, Rayleigh fights Kizaru pretty evenly in Sabaody, who is of course an Admiral. Rayleigh later shows up to save Boa from Blackbeard and defuses the situation at hand by scaring off Blackbeard. Blackbeard doesn't want to fight Boa in a 1v1, and neither does he want to fight Rayleigh in a 1v1, who stands his ground well against an Admiral. Now I'll end this video with a personal theory of mine, as if the rest of the video already wasn't bordering on headcanon. But bear with me on this one. Boa Hancock, throughout the story, the anime, and we can leave out the pre-time skip, and I'll tell you, you'll realize why, hasn't hardened her Haki one singular time throughout the whole story of One Piece, which is really interesting. And it is really interesting because from that fact, you can derive two possible outcomes. One, she is a devil fruit merchant like Law and Kid, meaning her fruit is more of a substitute due to her lack of proficient Haki. Or option two, she's extremely proficient in her Haki like Luffy, but just uses her fruit as more of a crutch to prolong her Haki throughout a fight. Which I theorize is what Luffy is doing as of now, because he doesn't harden his Haki nearly as much as he does in the post-time skip pre-Gear 5. Meaning his fruit is obviously able to make up for the lack of hardening. And if you've learned anything throughout this video, it's that I glaze Boa. So you obviously know which option and interpretation I'm gonna go with. But keep in mind, the Bakuja's Haki is hyped up throughout the story as well, with basic soldiers being able to imbue their arrows with Haki. And if you want to consider imbuing other things with Haki as a mission, that would only go to upscale Boa, of course. And that's pretty much all I have to say on that, to be honest. Bit of more of a rant style video, well it was, and then I had to reduce it more because I had this video with me rambling for like 30 minutes, and then I decided no, maybe not. I could probably condense that. But yeah, there's not really much to go off of in terms of Boa. Like, she really hasn't fought anyone like that would really push her, and if she has, again, Blackbeard snuck her, so you know. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like and sub for Boa, the GOAT, not a fraud, most definitely, 100%, 1000%. Like and sub, comment your thoughts. That's all from me. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.